Hello, I'm Nancy Smith Maddox, broadcasting from Little Rock, Arkansas on Shine Your Light Radio Ministry on WYTV 7 in Charlotte. We have a beautiful guest today that's going to talk to us. She's an entrepreneur and a business owner. We're going to have a little bit of discussions today, find out where she is and where she's been. But before we start, I'd like to say that WYTV 7 is a nonprofit, and we do take donations. And we would appreciate if you would seed into WYTV 7, as it will help us broadcast our shows internationally. And all of the donations go toward that to help promote our broadcast. So thank you so much for that. Without further ado, let's get started. My guest today is Amy Galando, and she is from Bossier City, Louisiana. She's a business owner and an entrepreneur, as well as of a lot of other things, a mother, and also is in the dental industry. So we're going to talk a little bit today about that. But I noticed on one of the things that I read, she had a comment that says, when we walk by faith, his light shines through us and his strength keeps us upright. Blessings. This was good. So I love that. I just happened to glance down and see that, Miss Amy. Welcome to the show. And I love anything that talks about shining your light. But let me share a little bit about Shine Your Light with you. Shine Your Light is a radio ministry that I created with the help of WYTV 7. And what we do is we have guests on a weekly show that I allow them to shine their light into the world. It's not about me, and it's not about the show. It's about the guests that have their talents that they can shine out into the world internationally, literally. We have several million viewers that view on WYTV 7, so I'm real excited about this interview today. Miss Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and kind of where you are now, your testimony.
All right. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on Shine Your Light radio, Miss Nancy. It's a privilege and an honor. I know I'm familiar with iHeartRadio and Christian Radio and CBN, all of the Christian broadcasting network. For one, a lot of the music and testimonies and such have been on the radio for a long time, have been a big impact as well in part of my life. So some things about me. I am a product of a single mom after my mom and dad divorced, after him being in the military and them separating ways. I was really young. I had to grow up quickly because my brother, he was 18 months old. So my dad being in the military, I was born over in France. I'm not French, but I was born over there. And then my brother, I have one sibling, he was born in Tacoma, Washington. So we ended up in upstate New York, where my parents first met and married out of high school. So that's where I spent about 16 years of my life. So I'm used to shoveling snow and snowstorms and things like that. My mom had some rough times when I was younger. So with that being said, I was forced to grow up really quick. I had to help take care of my brother, and she did the best she could. I know that. And she since with the Lord in 2011. But I became an angry teenager because of her ways when she was a single parent. And of course, there's lots of things that play in the part of that, of growing up. She was alcoholic. She had other people coming in and out the door that I had to call dad, but the Lord brought me through all that. So I don't really want to bring anything but praise to her, because she gave her life to Christ in later days in life. And
that's fantastic. That's fantastic, and that's very comforting, because when your parents pass on, you want to believe that they're going on to heaven, So that's just fantastic. It sounds like your childhood may have been a lot like mine. I have a brother and a sister that are younger than me, and I was in an alcoholic home myself. My parents divorced after 25 years of marriage. When my mother got the baby of the family grown, she left and went back to her roots and her mother and father, and spent her last years helping her mother and father. But I can understand exactly where you're coming from. Our parents do make a lot of mistakes. And but you know what? I loved both of my parents, even though my father was not very, was not a very good person. I want to think that he repented and he's in heaven now. But you just, it gives you comfort to know that. But I was always the older sibling. So I was like the second mother to my brother and sister. So I totally understand what you're talking about, helping raise your brothers. So that's a very admirable thing to do. So, but God doesn't give us more than we can handle. So we handle it and we move on, and we just have a beautiful life. So you also, it says on here that you moved from Texas to Louisiana, and you were a member of the Potter's House in Dallas. That really interests me because that's such a humongous, gigantic church. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that experience of being a member of the Potter's House, if you don't mind.
No, sure. Well, I was a member of actually two, because I like getting fed from non-denominational churches. And I mean, I'm not set forth in one way of learning what the Lord wants to teach us. And so, yes, the Potter's House was life-changing for me, because being a single person after being married for 26 years and having 3 kids of my own, and being put that direction because I couldn't get a job after my divorce, and it pretty much became a healing time. So I learned a lot as to how to grasp what you were meant to be, what you can do to help others, and I've done that a lot most of my life, but I really struggled after my divorce, because I committed my life to my children, raising them in the church, and then all of a sudden, 2007, 2008, being thrown into a position of losing everything. But I listened to Bishop Jakes a long time, and I had a pastor in a church envelop me, and a friend called Carol take me under her wing, because I was working 2 jobs, trying to figure out where is my next step, where can I move forward, how can I move forward, and what does it mean? What does it mean to bypass all these things that happened in your past? Now you've lost everything. Where can I go from here? So the Potter's House and Grace Community Church played a big part in putting my life back together, as well as God leading and guiding me and directing me to those 2 places. So the singles ministry of the Potter's House has a lot going on as far as singleness and what to do with your pearls, so to speak, after all those times. And I got involved with Mega Care International, and what they do is they are active in the community with Meals on Wheels and feeding the hungry in Ghana, overseas, and just witnessing and teaching and ministering to many. And a lot of those avenues were part of where I wanted to be a part of. Wow. So, yeah.
Boy, you really were blessed that you lived in a city like Dallas that had the church there, and to be able to listen to Bishop Jakes live. That's more than anybody could hope for, really, if you think about it. I mean, I think that's fantastic. We all listen to him on tapes and see him on tapes, but to have him in real life right there in church with you, I think that would be just wonderful. But it's kind of strange to me, maybe not strange is not the right word, but maybe ironic that you were raised by a single parent, and then you struggled with your own children as a single parent after 26 years. So that's just that. It just seems to me that things come full circle, that God knows what he's doing when he puts us in a spot, and really even in our childhood, because it teaches us, and he allows us to absorb everything so we can go through the trials and tribulations of life. And it sounds like he trained you up pretty good. I know the times were tough, but still you made it through, and look at you now. So isn't it wonderful?
Yes, I'm so thankful to God. I have to give him all the praise, honor, and glory, because I did raise my children in the knowledge of Jesus in church as they were growing up. One is going to be 33, the other is 29, and my son's 20. So I have 3 children that I was privileged to be manager of, so to speak, as a parent. Their dad worked a lot, but we were in California a great deal of my life. I had 2 of my children born there. My oldest was born in Virginia. I know it sounds like I've been a lot of different places.
Wow, you have been. You've been all over the United States, haven't you? Well, you know, I did also notice that you moved from Dallas, Texas to Bossier City, Louisiana, to be with your children, and after 11 years of being divorced. So tell us a little bit about what that brought that move around. Are there grandchildren in the picture, or were you just ready for a move, or God was moving you, or what?
Well, I heard the words "move back to Louisiana," and I have been a long distance mom, making sure I was here on a birthday or a weekend and driving 3.5 hours to come and see them. And then I was taught, if you're a long distance parent, love your children from a distance. That doesn't mean say hi, how you doing, I love you. That means being involved as much as you can, as often as you can, no matter how far it is. And so that was part of my healing process. I had a lot of support. When there wasn't money coming in, God certainly helped along the way. So I moved back here because of my children. There's some things going on that I found out after the fact of moving here, where they all need a little bit of help. So Mom came in to help, and that's why I moved back. And plus I have some business that I can do here. The business that I'm building can be done just about anywhere, so it kind of helps the extra income. Because I am a full-time dental assistant, and I had to have all my ducks in a row in order to do the move.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And that took a lot of courage, but them babies are tugging at your heartstring. I don't care how old they get. They're still your children and your babies, and I think it's wonderful. I too did the same thing. After 25 years, I'm still married, but I moved from Jacksonville, Florida, where my career was for 25 years. And I moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, because my son went to college up here, my only son. And I knew this is where my grandchildren were going to be. And I told my husband, you can either come with me or you can stay in Florida. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to Arkansas because that's where these grandbabies are going to be. And I don't regret a bit of it. I've been up here 15 years now in Arkansas, and I absolutely love it. And of course, my grandbabies are 14 and 12, so I'm just like in hog heaven, It's just wonderful. So it's nice to be there to experience and to help them, because it's tough. I mean, I know it was tough when we were young and we got married and to make it, but it seems to me like it's harder now. There's just so much more going on in the world that can be a hazard to your children or your grandchildren. I don't know. It just seems more difficult now. And I don't know if it's because we mellow out when we're older and we see things, as a little bit more difficult for our children. But I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I think that was very courageous for you to do that. So let's talk a little bit about what you do for a living. You say you're a dental assistant.
Yes.
So, and I read in here that you say you're in the smile business, which I absolutely love. And I think that's wonderful, because that really is what it's about, because people are fearful of going to the dentist. They don't like to go to the dentist. No one does. So
No.
when you meet up with a person that's great in their field and understands that there is fear there, tell us a little bit about how you got into being a dental assistant.
Well, back at high school, I I did some things, fast food. I did landscaping with my dad when I stayed with him when I was 16. I really much wanted to do something to help people. So, um, actually, this is a funny story to this. My first encounter with a dentist was I had a toothache, and it took forever for my dad to get me into the dentist, but I ended up having a root canal, and there's a lot of pain for being a teenager, and they took care of all that, and then I felt better, and I thought, well, maybe that's what I want to do. So the same dentist a year later, because I was 16 and a half then, the same when I turned 18, 17, I think he hired me. I went in because I told my dad I want to go back to that dentist. I want a job, because I was doing landscaping with him. I learned a lot about the land and how to work with manure and stuff like that. But anyway, I had these ugly green corduroys on. Of course, we were shoveling manure all day and planting trees and stuff, and a white T-shirt on, and it had yucky all over it. But he said, "I'll take you towards the end of the day," and so he did. And he goes, and my dad said, "You can sneak in there and get an application, and then you can come back later." So with that in mind, he did just that at the end of our work day, and I ran in and I said, there was an ad in the paper. He said, "You're hiring. You are my dentist. Can I get an application?" And Martha was the front desk person at the time. She said, "Oh, sure, no problem. Hold on just a minute. I'll get him out." And then out comes Dr. Moffitt. And he goes, "Are you here to interview?" And I said, well, I'm just getting an application." "Oh, no, come on in. Come on in." And I was actually hired on the spot, and I was with that same dentist for about 7 years. So my first was.
Goodness. So you had on your work clothes from landscaping, and you went in just to get the application at the doctor.
Talk about God working. And I didn't know it then, but that was when it really started. Then God started to show me, that He loved and cared about everything that I was going to be doing in my life. So He taught me, don't give up. Mm-hmm. I'm on your side. Basically, all throughout this time, I loved dentistry from that point on, and I worked it around my schedule for my kids. I stayed in the game, kept my license in force. I even taught preschool in between, had a large daycare. In between, because I did everything geared around my children.
Yeah, that's just great. You're a wonderful mother. I'd just like to say at this point that WYTV 7 is a 24/7 show, and we do have our private studio TV channel. So any of our shows that you watch, you can watch anytime that you want. And we do this show will be broadcast on a Thursday, and we'll make that known to everyone. I know everyone's going to really want to hear this. This is a story of victory and a story of really success because of your powerful faith, Miss Amy. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about your other business, which is a legal company. You sell legal plans and identity theft. So let's talk a little bit about how you got in that and when you got in that and what that is and how that helps.
Okay, thank you. Well, I received a membership in 2004. I didn't really know exactly what it was, but I had real close friends share the idea and the concept. And so that was fine and good, and I kept up through it. And then later on, I needed it. I needed the membership. I'd been a victim of identity theft a few times, and it's pretty costly, time-consuming, and it's devastating, actually. And then you start getting bills from people or places you don't even know why or how. And so I tried the membership, and it really helped. It worked. It cut all that out. And it just took me one phone call instead of several visits to different places like the DMV, the bank. It just cut my time, which I don't have a whole lot of, but it also protected my sanity. I thought I was going crazy. Like, I didn't open an account over there. I didn't have that phone company. And so that's one aspect of it. The other thing was I've been profiled, driving while blonde, being blonde. I was coming back from a convention, and I was pulled over. I just got a new car. And you know how you like to leave a sticker in the window because it's new, and you just can't believe God just allowed you to have it and blessed you with it. Cruise control, because I'd never had it before. I had it on cruise control. I was going the speed limit, and I was pulled over. And I had the top down because it was, sunroof. I was pulled over for later on to find out no reason. But I was able to speed dial the law firm of which was representing at that time, and had an attorney speaking to the officer on the phone, and then they let me go. And then later, I think that the officer, and nothing wrong with, making sure all the ducks in a row, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a law-abiding citizen, nothing about that, but was found that I was pulled over wrongly. So there's a lot of other things, like one story about my mom. My mom, limited income, disabled, not a whole lot to work with. Get in a taxi and go to Walmart and get her groceries once a month, writes a check, keeps every penny, and she was my first membership when I decided I wanted to do this as a business. And one day I get a call from Walmart. Amy, they won't cash my check. I don't understand. Well, there just happened to be a place that didn't write her check down in the books as her being paid, and it went to what they do as far as writing checks. They block you from writing checks anywhere. So I said, well, you need to call your Legal Shield membership, Mama, and I'll call and be on the phone with you. She said, okay. And pretty much within 3 days, and it takes like weeks to get off of that list when you can't write checks. Within 3 days, she had gotten a phone call of apology off of having to be turned down from writing the check anymore, and definitely taken care of with that membership. So there's more stories, but those are pretty significant.
So last night on the news, as I was watching it, they were talking about identity theft and how it's just as prevalent now as it was several years ago when you heard about it all the time in the news. They were talking about how people were stealing, your medical insurance, your insurance information, and going to the hospital and getting checked in under your number, and that's a form of identity theft too.
Yes,
and I'm
it
like,
is.
wow, that is really frightening, because by then they're all in your medical records, right?
Yes, that's true.
So that's pretty frightening there. So
yes,
yeah, really, that's really scary. So you actually you were able to take that business with you. Are you working in dental now too?
I still am a full-time dental assistant. I'm self-sufficient. So I walk by faith, not by sight, but I also support this business. And it's about protecting people and protecting not only your well-being, but your assets, your integrity, and from being treated unfairly. And so I am a believer in that. I believe in being justified as well as being justified by faith. I believe justice is so well needed, and if it's done in a proper and positive form, then it's better for all. So that's why I love Legal Shield, and that's why I do that as something that's important for me. But not only do I want to stay in the smile business, but I want to see smiles because of justice well done and well served.
That's really good. That's really a awesome story. Well, we're almost out of time, but let me just say again, talk a little bit about WYTV7. And it is a nonprofit, and we would appreciate it if you could if our viewers can make donations so we can promote these shows worldwide, internationally. So, because I mean, the things that we talk about on Shine Your Light are not for just the local area. They're for anyone that wants to listen. And our guests always give us information that we can take away. The last thing I want to talk about too is that you said you're a writer of a children's book that's in process. Can we talk a little bit about that, which is near and dear to my heart? I'm a published author of 3 books. So
I'm not quite there being published yet, or I'm still working on the material of my children's book, but it is it's a fun soliloquy. I became a part of the Institute of Children's Literature a long time ago, so it's been a book that's sitting there staring at me, and the Lord just keeps sending authors and everybody my way, tapping me on the shoulder, I guess, so to speak. But it is a book that is about 3 bears, and the title suggests triple bubble trouble. That's the title. Where I'm taking what used to be as far as like bears not knowing what a TV is. Well, what's that? So they're investigative creatures in a home where they shouldn't be, basically. So I'm there's something fun writing for children so they can see the humor and also what happens at the end of when you get into trouble, but being corrected in a good way.
Wow. That sounds wonderful. I hope you'll continue progressing on your book. It's near and dear to my heart, publishing books. I did work for a publishing company for a few years, and now I partner with another publishing company. It's just she and I, and we publish books. But I love that. And I also heard yesterday, I believe it was on one of the news stations, about how books are just so vitally important. And I know with the Kindle readers now and all the electronic stuff that we have, some people still like books. I mean, and especially if you start your children out with books, it's just really, really important for people to have a love of books and learn to, read and comprehend. So I think that's really great. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit about what your favorite Bible verse is?
Well, through the process of all the time, Philippians 4:13. Yes.
What was it again?
Philippians 4:13.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. I have it on my wall over here. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Wow.
And that's where I draw my strength. I don't take any credit for that, and where I was and where he's brought me up to this point. And I would say, for those who are struggling, they're trying to find their way, don't give up and find godly mentors to help you along the way. They will come, and God loves you more than you love yourself. So that's what I would say.
Well, it has been a real pleasure to interview you today. I'm really excited. You've shared a lot of information with us. WYTV7 believes in the 3 E's: educate, empower, and encourage. And today you have shared all of these to help other people around the world, and I appreciate it so much. This could be the beginning of something really, really great. And we'll be posting your contact information if anyone would like to contact you, okay?
That would be great. Thank you so much.
And I thank you too, darling. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.